You sit across from someone you once loved, and suddenly realize your reflection is gone. Your words sound like theirs, your desires became theirs. It's as if you stopped existing, replacing I with we. This isn't love. It's the slow loss of control, silent, invisible, like air leaking from your lungs. And in the silence between you, you can hear your identity fading away. Since childhood, they told you, love means living for another. But no one warned you that this phrase hides poison. When you live for someone else, you stop living for yourself. You disappear, and what remains is only a shadow, loyal, convenient, but empty inside. Love without I becomes servitude to someone else's dream. The mind plays a clever trick. It confuses closeness with safety. You want warmth, but you're warming the one who steals your light. You seek support, but become scaffolding for someone else's stability. That's how dependency works, disguised as care. You don't notice how the fear of loneliness becomes the heart of the relationship. And one day, you realize you're not loved, you're just needed. You think, if I become better, they won't leave. That's the most dangerous contract you can sign with yourself, because it's always temporary. Love bought through self-sacrifice quickly turns into guilt. And guilt eats you from the inside, slowly but precisely. You pay not with love, but with your self-worth. First insight, the frame of value. When you put someone above yourself, you lose your axis. The world senses it instantly. You become background, not the main figure. Energy always flows toward confidence. And if you lack it, someone else will claim it. So start simple. Reclaim your place in your own frame. Look around. You've seen 100 times. She lives by his mood. He breathes through her attention. Two people who have lost their shape and swapped their souls. Love without boundaries always becomes a leak, where one fills up and the other burns out. A flame without oxygen dies, even if it once burned sincerely. Second insight, the shadow of control. When you fear losing, you begin to control. Messages, tone, response time, it all becomes strategy. But control doesn't preserve love, it drains it. You're not controlling, you're protecting the wounded inner child, who's terrified of being abandoned again. And as long as you guard that fear, love can't breathe. The mind clings to what's familiar, even if it's pain, because pain is predictable. In the chaos of suffering, it finds stability, and in peace, anxiety. That's why you return where it hurts. Not because you're foolish, but because your trauma feels safe there. But safety is not the same as healing. Third insight, the energy of dependency. Love becomes a chemical experiment. Dopamine, cortisol, oxytocin, your personal drug. You call it longing, but it's withdrawal. You check your phone not from curiosity, but fear. Your mind craves a dose. It doesn't care what it comes from. And until you see that, it will keep demanding more. The brain loves cycles. It pulls you back, even when you escape, because repetition feels like survival. It believes that doing it again might change the result, but it won't. Only you change, becoming weaker, quieter, emptier. Each new loop turns you into a shadow of who you were. Fourth insight, the return of control. Control begins with awareness. Not with action, not with struggle, with silence. With the ability to notice where your focus leaks. Every time you think of them more than yourself, you lose energy. Turn your gaze inward, not outward, and reality will start to shift on its own. You can't change another person, but you can change your point of view. Shift from victim to witness. When you observe without attachment, everything loses power over you. Consciousness is light, and light is always stronger than darkness. The clearer your awareness, the less you need to defend. You stop explaining, and people start understanding. You stop demanding, and they start giving. It's not mysticism, it's energy psychology. When you become whole, people feel it. Because confidence doesn't shout, it hums quietly. And the silence of confidence speaks louder than any request. Fifth insight, freedom within boundaries. True boundaries aren't walls, they're fields of strength. You can love without dissolving. You can stay open and still be untouchable. Your energy isn't for everyone. And the clearer you know that, the less you'll be used. A boundary is self-respect, not distance. Freedom isn't in leaving, it's in peace. You can stay close, yet not lose yourself. You can be with someone, but not depend on them. Freedom isn't loneliness. It's being unafraid to be yourself, even in intimacy. That's when love becomes a choice, not a need. The mind loves to play roles. It survives through masks. But masks get tired. You start to realize it's easier to be yourself than to pretend. And that's when confidence is born. Authenticity doesn't require effort, only honesty. When you become honest, life removes what no longer fits. Relationships where your background fade away. You lose not people, but illusions. And what remains is space, where breathing is possible again. Sometimes emptiness is just room for new air. This is what maturity means. To stay close without losing yourself. To love without dissolving. To stop seeking approval and become its source. Two whole people create a union, not a dependency. Togetherness becomes a choice, not salvation. Psychology calls it self-worth. Philosophy, returning to center. But the essence is the same. You stop being someone's reflection and become your own mirror of clarity. You no longer see through the eyes of love, but through awareness. Now, when you look in the mirror, you see strength, not fear. You no longer chase, you attract. You don't fear loneliness, because you're no longer alone inside. You become home to yourself. And if one sentence had to remain, let it be this. You don't lose yourself in love. You simply forget that you are already whole. Remember, and everything meant for you will find its way back. And everything that isn't will fade without resistance. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe.